In phase 1 of capsular shrinkage, you want to do little to no weight resistance. Here I'm strengthening scap stabilizers by doing scapular protractions and retractions. In phase 1, you also want to make sure to avoid atrophy of the distal joints, such as the wrist and elbow. Here I'm doing putty squeezes in the hand and wrist to avoid atrophy and to keep range of motion. As mentioned before, you want to strengthen the joints distal to the injury. Here I'm doing bicep curls to strengthen the muscles below. In phase 1, you begins range of motion. Here I'm doing towel slides with no weight bearing. In phase 1, you begin gentle stretching. Here is an example of the door stretch. You don't want to stretch too much to avoid damage of the capsule. Here's an example of the sleeper stretch. Here's an example of the crossbody stretch with the scapula stabilized on the wall. In phase 2, you can begin early strengthening. Here's an example of a straight arm raise. Use little to no weight in phase 2. We can strengthen the scap stabilizers using external and internal rotation. Here are used with a light resistance TheraBand. We want to continue working on our scap stabilizers. Here we're doing scap protractions, retractions again, but this time with TheraBand resistance. Go forward. In phase 2, we can start to weight bear. Here is an example of a wall plank for push-up progression. In phase 2, we can begin and continue range of motion. Here are some ball circles to increase glenohumeral range of motion. You can do wall circles in multiple directions. Do not do it in any direction in which you feel unstable. Strengthening continues with slurs. You can use weight or no weight at all. Just make sure that they're getting their full range of motion in a safe plane. To continue scap stabilizer strengthening, we'll do GH extensions. Here can strengthen the rhomboids and also increase range of motion. In phase 3, we can make the exercises more complicated and more challenging. Here is rows with external rotation. Make sure they squeeze their scaps in order to fire the scap stabilizers. Another scap stabilizer exercise is sky punches. Here we are activating the serratus. To continue our push-up progression, we can go from wall planks to wall push-ups. If the wall push-ups are already mastered, you can continue to table planks. To get our athlete closer to push-ups, we now move to a tabletop plank. In phase 3, we will begin to work on proprioceptive exercises, such as rhythmic stabilization. To continue with proprioceptive exercises, we can do wall ball bounces. This can be done with a medicine ball to incorporate strengthening as well. In phase 4, they should have full function. Here we're doing lat pull downs to continue the scap stabilizer exercises. Here we are doing wood choppers to incorporate the core as well as shoulder stability. To continue our push-up progression, we will move from tabletop push-ups to floor planks. Don't. If floor planks are mastered, then we can move to floor push-ups. In phase 4, we can now do internal and external rotation at 90 degrees. Stability is not as much as a concern later in this phase, since strengthening has been done in the whole process.
Internal. Turn. I don't know. Turn.
In phase 4, we are now able to work above 90 degrees. Here we're doing shoulder press to increase strength in the shoulder joint, specifically the deltoid. Weight can now be added to the straight arm raise. Here we are doing it with horizontal abduction as well. In phase 4, we want to increase power. We can do this by doing plyos. Here's an example of med ball slams. Specifically for a linebacker, we can also do chest passes into the wall with a med ball in order to incorporate blocking. To continue strengthening the shoulder and structures around it, we can do shrugs with resistance or weight. In phase 5, we should be at our optimal strength. Here is an example of clap push-ups. Athlete is ready to return to play.